Welcome back to Real Questions. I'm Mandy,
And I'm Wynelle.
and today we have a very interesting topic.
We're going to talk a lot today about grief and IVF.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, before anybody gets too depressed, I do want to mention that Mandy and I had so many conversations around what this would look like. So I just want to say this from the
Yeah.
beginning because I feel like it's important. We are going to talk about both the negative and positive sides of it. It's not just to bring you a success story and make you feel like, oh, but for me who's still struggling. So I
Right.
really wanted to make sure we highlighted that.
100%. And yeah, we both of us know so many people that have struggled with this topic, and it's very prevalent in society today, even more so than what I remember in the past. It's just not a topic that's talked about as openly in
Right.
the church and in society as much as it should be. And we wanted to talk about it. We wanted to just bring you both sides of that story, and
Hopefully bring some
yeah.
hope that
Mhm.
there are, for those of you who may have tried and failed, I know you've probably heard the alternatives, but we are looking in our testimonies to bring a testimony that has an alternative that, has been
Yeah.
exciting. And
Yeah.
also, we have someone else who I know both you and I know recently, talking about you don't hear it much, and then recently I have 2 major friends
You hear
who
about it a lot now.
yeah, that
Yeah.
they've been successful, they've just had their children,
It's a
but
very common topic today.
yeah.
It just doesn't seem like it was, maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, so I think it's kinda just throwing it out there that maybe people don't realize that it is a real thing,
Yeah.
and it is something that we understand as women that one of the number one factors about turning to IVF is the motherhood, the wanting to be a mom. And I think that is just huge, isn't it,
And it's not
Mandy?
even just wanting to be a mom, it's like what we're called to be. Like as women, we are called to be a mother, to mother either other spiritually, emotionally,
Absolutely.
physically. I mean, that is part of our DNA. It's part of who we are. And so when that desire is in you, that call is in you, and then you've tried and you're like, what's wrong with me? Why can't
Right.
this happen?
So the biggest thing is in talking about this, Mandy, you and I both know that we're not the professionals here, but we did want to highlight it because there's a statement that I read that it's deeply important and often a very unvoiced area of human experience. So
Mhm.
obviously, IVF is a genuine source of immense hope, but it does come with repeated failures and it does come with its very often up and down physical issues and problems that the women have to go through. But I do know that it says that as of this year, 2025, IVF has advanced
Mhm.
quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are going to talk today about people who have had success and people who haven't. But I think one of the biggest things is there is a lot to be said. Let's talk about first those who are possibly getting towards the end and still are and been unable to have a child. Um, and maybe we're also now talking to those who they've already been through it all and they didn't have success at all.
Mhm.
So um, you often find that these are people who are very persistent. I do know from talking to my friends, it's very costly. So, yeah, I think the first thing is just this whole thing of grief, and you did open up talking about that.
Yeah. I don't know a whole lot about the whole experience. I have family members that have gone through this, and I've had friends that have gone through this. We're going to have some testimonies in a minute that we're going to share with some of our friends that have experienced this. But what I see more than anything is the emotional side of things.
Yeah,
Yeah, the waiting period, the waiting and the struggle and the feeling inadequate and the why not God. I mean, why, Lord, answer my prayer, Father, Lord, answer my prayer. So my question question is, really, is does that answer look the same for everybody? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and that's kinda what we're gonna talk about today is how God can be answering your prayer maybe in different ways. And so, I don't know, you wanna jump into some of the
Yeah, let's
testimonies?
do that and then come back.
Okay.
My name is Cassie, and I would just like to share with you my husband and I what we went through with having children. And we have a testimony of how we decided whether we were going to go through IVF or if we were going to move forward through adoption, and kind of how we got to that point. It was with a lot of prayer, a lot of challenges, a lot of tears, and but God is faithful. And basically, when my husband and I got married, he already had two children from a previous marriage, and he had already had a vasectomy. So we already knew we were going to have some challenges whenever it came time for us to have children. So what we decided to do is first off, we decided that we would try medically to go ahead and have the vasectomy reversed. So we went ahead and went to the doctor, had all those, you know, pre-exams, all that stuff, and they said, "Oh yeah, great, it's gonna work." So we trusted in them, and we had that done, and it didn't work. So we were really disappointed, and we said, "Well, okay, we'll wait." And so a year later, we went ahead and went to another doctor, in that time it did work. So we were so excited, and we were getting carried away and ended up uh, um, not working for me anyway. And so we decided that we would go ahead and go to a fertility doctor to see kind of what's going on. Why aren't things working here? So when we went to that doctor, we found out that my progesterone levels were really low, and so we ended up getting on some medication. And what happened is when my husband went and had the second vasectomy, we ended up having some of his sperms stored, so we knew that we had that as a backup. But again, for our family, we were at this point we were in a custody battle with his ex-wife with his concerning his two children, and at that for our family, it was not financially reasonable for us to go ahead and spend all that money for IVF. We knew that all of our resources need to be spent on those two boys. So, what we decided for our family is that we would go ahead and do insemination. So we took the sperm that we had and we just did an insemination, and it worked. And so we ended up pregnant, and but shortly thereafter we lost the baby, and so again we were devastated. But God's faithful, so we just continue to pray on it, and we decided, you know what, let's just do a donor sperm. We'll continue through this, and we'll try something else. So we did it probably 3 or 4 more times with the donor sperm, but nothing ever happened. And so um, we ended up getting licensed in foster care. We thought, you know what? My mom was a foster care parent. She had already adopted a child or two, and she called me one day and she's like, "Oh my God, you got to get licensed because there's this little girl here and she would just be amazing for y'all." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. I can't handle somebody coming into our house and then being taken away from us." And so, but that seed was planted. So, and my husband's adopted. He was adopted from birth. So, it was great for him. So, again, we prayed and prayed and prayed, and so we decided we would go get licensed as foster care parents. So, we got licensed, and then we got a couple of children, and um, as soon as we got them, things were great, but then CPS came in and took them like within 2 weeks. So we were devastated, and we were just like, we can't do this. It's too difficult. So I know a lot of parents out there or people looking into foster care. I know it's scary. It really is. But again, you just have to trust the Lord. And so we did. Honestly, we did. We stepped back for like 6 months, and so um, we prayed about it, and then on August 8th here or August 9th, of 2001, I wrote in my journal here, and I have it in front of me here, that I had just prayed to the Lord, and I prayed, "Lord, whether you bring us a biological child through, miracles, or you bring us, children through CPS, just let it happen." And I also put in there that he would, just be on the hearts of the people at CPS to establish our license so we could have people come back or have children come back into our home. So, again, that was on, August 9th of 2001. Well, then on October 10th of 2001, 2 children were brought back into our home. And I mean, when that door opened and those 2 kids came in, I knew that I knew that I knew that those 2 kids were gonna be ours. And people would ask me all the time because their adoption took almost 3 years because we had to have the parents' rights terminated. We didn't know who one of the dads was for one of the kids. I mean, it was a circus. But I knew that I knew that I knew that God was telling me through my prayers and through the trials and tribulations that we went through that those kids were ours. And so, um, I mean, I'm just telling you. And then I wrote in my journal on December 19th, 2001, and I said, "Well, Lord, you have answered our prayers. We now have kids for Christmas." And so I'm telling y'all that you just know that you know that you know that when God tells you that it is your time, that is your time because He is faithful. So when you're going through infertility or you're going through something and you don't know if it's meant to be, if God has put that desire in your heart, it is going to happen. And God tells us that we are to bear fruit and we are to bear much fruit. He is telling you that. He does not lie. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And I'm telling you, women out there, that if God has promised you a child, it's going to happen. You just have to listen to Him and you just have to trust in what He is telling you. And so that's our miracle. And like I said, it's not the same for everyone. Some other families may end up going with IVF and it may be successful for them. But for us, that was not our story. Our story is adoption, and our children are amazing.
So what a powerful testimony from Cassie, I mean, who really has been really showed us like how to walk out those prayers, how to walk out the desire to have children, and then really say, okay, God, what is your will for me? In the end, she wanted a child, and she wanted the Lord's will for her life, and the Lord answered that prayer through a beautiful solution of what his will was always. I mean, if you see her with her kids today, that 1,000,000% was God's will for her life. I mean, those
Right.
kids were meant for her and her husband. I mean, they are that family is solid, that family is beautiful, and they are fruitful and they're happy. That was God's will for them,
Absolutely.
and so it just looks different for everybody.
Yeah, I think, the fact that she was able to adopt, and I mentioned to you that in our family, so there's 3 of us that are founders of our ministry commission, but one of them is a young man who's been living with us for now almost 6 years, and he is like our son. And he's been our spiritual son all this time. He does have a beautiful family, but one of the things that people have said is he's still your son because he acts like your son. He almost now looks like your son, which is hilarious. But it's, even in my head, I almost struggle to almost like think, no, I didn't birth this child. His mother birthed him. But it is incredible when you really give it a chance that you can grow a love for those children like
Yeah.
she did,
Oh, yeah, well,
and
her
it be a
yeah.
true blessing.
Yeah, I mean, when you adopt a child into your home, those are your those that is they become your DNA. They become, and it's almost like even a more passionate love at times because, the Lord gave them to you. It's like a gift, that you can really be able to grow and have this family. But you're talking about spiritual children and how the Lord has given you the spiritual son. And it reminded me of someone that I know. and this person has not been able to have children as well, and it was really a struggle for her. She still doesn't have any children, and it was really a heartache for her. Now I don't think she went the route of IVF or any of those other things. She just always had wanted children and didn't have them. And the Lord gave me a vision of her many years ago, and I saw her actually in Africa. I saw her with a lot of spiritual children.
Mm.
I saw a vision. I was like, man, she's a mother to many people. Yeah, not just one. She's a mother to many. And I gave her that word, and she did not receive it. And she went a different route, and so, Lord bless her, but she kind of left the church and different things. So, but I truly believe there was a call in her life as a spiritual mother, to many people, had she aligned to that. And I know that she may still one day, who knows? But so God has a different path for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Paul and I, we have spiritual children, like I told you,
Mhm.
spread all over the world. So we definitely love it and we still do it. I mean, we don't ever feel like we're too old for that. And I do want to encourage those who maybe you've not gone the IVF route, but you still wanted to have children and you couldn't. And, there are so many out there that need parents that are
Mhm.
fatherless and motherless and they need people like you. And so do take that on board. But the other thing I wanted to just mention is, there's things that's worth mentioning as far as people who have gone and tried IVF, some of the struggles, Mandy, that they face are obviously, and I know this will be something that you might want to pick up on, but I just kind of want to go through the list and then you might want to come back to this one. The number one is the loss of a dream. The fact that you have literally dreamed that you would be a mom, that you would be able to hold this baby in your
Mhm.
arms. You've envisioned this family. So there's that. There's the physical pain and the hormone fluctuations that you go through. Obviously, the financial burden because it's definitely not cheap. The impact again on your identity and self worth,
Yeah.
which we have talked about in our other episodes. And then the other thing is that feeling that your body has just failed you and not done what God designed it to do, and it's that grief of you trying to work through. I'm saying for those especially that are at that place where it's not gonna happen, but for those who may be approaching the last time, and I know in the second half of this, there's a story that I'll get to share, but I think, when you talk about the loss of a dream, now you talked about dreams in another episode. When you hear that statement, Mandy, what really comes to your mind?
Well, when you dream and you have a desire and a hope, then you see it, you envision it, you want to know why, God, why not me? Why are you not fulfilling this desire and this hope and really what you were created to do? Because a dream comes to you out of this. I mean, I personally feel like God has hundreds of dreams just floating around you at any given time. You just got to grab the ones that you want to bring into fruition. And here's this one of motherhood that's not being answered. I mean, you feel let down, you feel delusioned, you feel frustrated, you feel hurt, and you feel anger. You feel all these things that are associated with grief around it. And it's overwhelming, and
Yeah.
it's overwhelming. I honestly can't even I don't have words to be able to console someone that is hurting in that way because when you to lose a dream, to lose hope, it's almost like losing hope, you
Yeah.
know?
I definitely also do not wanna be a person who sits here and says, "I know what that feels like."
No.
Even losing my parents, I know what grief feels like, but I don't know what it feels like to want something so bad that your body just cannot produce. But
Mhm.
some good news here because we obviously don't wanna just dwell on the negative, but we do wanna show empathy here and say that, find people who can pray with you, who can really
Mhm.
stand with you and believe that what is the alternative so that you don't lose a dream, but maybe in a different way. But despite repeated failures, despite the fact that you've pursued it, not worked out, what is it that keeps it going for them? What is it keeps them going? And these are some things that you'll probably resonate with, Mandy. One is just that deep seated desire
Mhm.
for motherhood. That's why they keep doing it. The desire to have a child, they say, professionally, is one of the most fundamental and powerful human longings, is to deeply want a child. The other thing is just that resilience of the survival that you've gotta keep going until you get there. They go through a lot of what ifs, the fear of regret, obviously the investment that you're making,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
then if you make all that investment and it comes to naught. So, there's just so many different things when with those that you face, but I don't wanna just dismiss it and suddenly, switch to a positive side where someone has, now been able to have a child, with IVF, and a powerful story. So, first of all, I just wanna say for those of you out there who maybe still have a chance, this will be an amazing story for you to hear. But first, I just wanna say for those of you that you have reached the point that there is
Mhm.
no return, that there's nothing, listen to this story that we just had and remind yourself that there could be hope in a different
Yeah.
way, and
That
you have to come to grips with that.
And there's no wrong or there's no better answer. Like, there's not one that is better than the other. I mean, because God's will for you is God's will for you, and there is a beautiful answer, and no matter what that looks like. And I'm talking about purpose. I'm talking about deep driven purpose. Like, I mean, I look at my friend Cassie, who has this beautiful family, and it's like 100% was like what was meant to be. And 20 looking at it 20 years later, you see this whole family that grew up, and it was exactly what God wanted. The same way, if it was just raising your spiritual children, through ministry and things like that, I promise you that God is going to fulfill the purpose in your life to the extent that it is supposed to be in the name of Jesus, and it's going to give you more fulfillment than you ever dreamed possible. You know what I mean? So, but God is a God of miracles. God is a God of
He
miracles. I'm telling
certainly
you right now.
is, and he's a God of creative
Yes,
miracles.
he is. Yes, he is. And so really just walking in faith is what I feel like is
Yeah, I feel like, even if you are sitting here watching this right now and you're thinking, I don't want to hear this. I'm at that point that I just want to continually keep bawling my eyes out because, nothing happened. If you could
Mhm.
find a glimpse of hope
Yeah.
to sit down and say, Lord, you can see my deep seated disappointment and grief and
Mhm.
hurt. What is the alternative when you know how badly I want a child?
Yeah.
And what is the answer for me? And you know what? I
Yeah.
promise you, God will show up. I don't know how and with what,
Yeah.
but I just said there are many creative miracles. We heard Cassie's. There are many creative miracles that God can do.
And I just wanna just say, I know we're fixing to hear a testimony. This is a really great story, and I'm excited about that, but I wanna encourage those of you. My stepmom, my dad married my stepmom when I was 5, and she never had children of her own. We are her children, and she raised us co-parenting with my mom, my biological mother, and I look at her just like I have a second mom. I have 2 moms, and she is our mom. She is very fulfilled in our family. I mean, like, that is it was just what God had for her, and she's very, very happy in that she sees us as her own and has raised us as her own, and that is the way our family unit worked. And then later in life, I married my husband, and he had no children of his own, but I had 3 children, and he has later in life adopted my 2 older girls. And, though this has become his family, and he has become our family, we became one. And, let me tell you, that unit is powerful. It is powerful. It is and I'm sure there's something inside of him that, that probably wanted children and, all those things, and, but that this is he is the best dad. He is a good husband, and he is a good dad to our children, and he loves them, and they love him, and it is a powerful family unit. And that is what our family looks like. Every family looks different,
Absolutely.
but there is no right or wrong family. There's
No.
no right or wrong. Like, I mean, as far as that looks, I mean, I'm not saying there's not things that aren't wrong about families,
Right.
but there's not a better answer. There's not like one is
Absolutely.
better than the other.
Yeah.
You know?
And, before we switch gears, I do wanna say, I'm just thinking about the fact that we're in this season of Christmas, in this season of giving, and in this season where it could be the darkest for you because, that's the time when you really want to be happy and celebrate. But you know what? I just wanna say this, God has a gift for you. Wait to unwrap that gift and see what
Amen.
what God has
Yes.
for you. I just feel like God's saying, let him give you the gift that when you unwrap it, you will absolutely be shocked at what he's done for you.
Amen.
Now, switching gears a little bit, I know you have friends that have been successful.
Mhm.
The story that we're about to hear, honestly, Mandy, for those of you that are on that one that you feel like, man, you're down to the last one or two, Mandy, I don't wanna spoil the story, but I just wanna set it up for you. Here's a couple that literally for months and months and months have gone through IVF. They are actually from Colombia, and, they have struggled financially. They have literally done everything they have gotten, they have poured into an opportunity for this. She was in her 30s, so she's in her 30s, not was, because she's still alive. And we've been their mentors for years, and Mandy, listen to this, how, detailed God is and how you need to be so careful of your responses. They took us out to dinner, I'll never forget it, in a beautiful hotel in the city of Barranquilla in Colombia, and this was their question to us. We have done everything we know to do. The doctors have now told us we have one last opportunity for IVF, and then there's no more. And where we're at is, should we take that, or have we tried enough now and we need to let it go because we don't know if we can handle the finality of the fact that the grief is now there's no more chances, but knowing that you still had an opportunity. And, Paul and I felt so, I think, burdened at the fact of, man, this is heavy duty to be able to answer this
Yeah, it's a
question.
hard question.
And we both looked at each other, and I just said, look, for me as a mom, I'm thinking, why would you come this far and not take the final opportunity? Because what if that is what God is saying? This is it. And I said, I feel like if you don't, there'll be no closure and you'll always be hounded by the question, what if that would have been the one? And that's the way she felt. He was kind of in a quandary of, would his wife be able to handle the grief if it wasn't?
Yeah.
Anyway, we prayed with them, they made the decision, and now we're gonna hear her testimony.
Hola, mi nombre es Audrey Johanna Pertus Álvarez y bueno, estoy en este espacio por la gracia de Dios, donde vengo a compartir con ustedes parte de mi testimonio, específicamente en ese largo caminar bajo la experiencia de un diagnóstico de infertilidad. Soy psicóloga de profesión y junto con mi esposo somos pastores, somos ministros del Señor y en este momento, bueno, tenemos la alegría de contar nuestro testimonio y pues gracias a Wynelle que me extendió la invitación, puedo tener la bendición de compartirles lo siguiente. Junto con mi esposo tenemos 21 años de casados y a eso más o menos nos casamos en el año 2003 y por cuestiones o rutinas todo empezó con una visita al médico de rutina. Y en esa visita el médico nos envía varios exámenes simplemente para hacer una revisión anual de nuestra salud. Y al volver con esos resultados, pues el médico revisa los exámenes y nos lanza una expresión, nos dice, Audrey, Eduardo, en el tema de ustedes de tener hijos, el panorama es gris oscuro. Nunca se me olvide esa frase. Obviamente nosotros quedamos como en shock, no podíamos creer, no entendíamos lo que estábamos escuchando de parte del médico. Y recuerdo muy bien ese día cuando salimos, mi esposo y yo no mencionamos palabra, no conversamos de lo sucedido, estábamos bastante afectados por haber escuchado esa noticia y bueno, sin entender, la sugerencia del médico fue busquen especialistas en este tema de fertilidad. La verdad es que en ese tiempo no se escuchaba mucho de clínicas o de centros o de especialistas, sobre todo en nuestra ciudad, no se escuchaba mucho, no había muchas opciones. Y en ese momento conocimos solo de una opción a la cual acudimos para, bueno, entender un poco más y despejar nuestras dudas. Y el resultado fue el mismo. Para ustedes no hay opción. Ustedes no pueden ser padres de forma natural. Salimos de esa consulta muy tristes, muy tristes. Y aún sin entender muchas cosas, porque seguíamos con muchas preguntas, no había claridad, por lo menos qué podemos hacer, no entendíamos a ciencia cierta lo que ocurría, simplemente nos lanzaban la expresión de que no hay nada que hacer, ustedes no pueden ser padres. A lo largo de los años, bueno, nosotros le servíamos al Señor. Fuimos ministros, fuimos líderes y también fuimos pastores, nos nombran pastores de niños, algo muy particular. Y es cuando decimos que Dios tiene sentido del humor, empezamos a servirle también al Señor con los jóvenes y recuerdo que fueron muchos años de servicio, pero de un servicio de gozo, me hago entender, de gozo. En medio de esa espera, en medio de aún de despejar dudas, vamos avanzando y van pasando los años y vamos conociendo otras alternativas de especialistas en fertilidad. Tuvimos la oportunidad de viajar a la ciudad de Bogotá, en Colombia, y visitar otro especialista y a la final en esa visita tampoco fue esperanzador el panorama. Sin embargo, pudimos despejar dudas, pudimos entender un poco más y pudimos conocer como esas instancias a las que podíamos llegar. Recibir un diagnóstico de infertilidad es muy doloroso, ¿sí? Se genera un sufrimiento, técnicamente se genera un duelo y eso no lo entendíamos, lo entendimos con el paso de los años, pero en ese momento no lo entendíamos y no podíamos de alguna manera aterrizar como todo ese río de emociones, por supuesto negativas, a la que nos estábamos enfrentando. Sin embargo, Dios ha sido bueno, el Señor ha sido bueno y siempre ha tenido cuidado de nosotros. Lo más importante es que nosotros podamos tener un corazón consolable. Y fue cuando yo me expuse y yo le dije, Señor, consuela mi corazón, porque aún no quiero vivir ni servirte con amargura, porque algo bien cierto es que este tipo de diagnósticos trae amargura al corazón, trae vergüenza, trae tristeza, trae dolor. Y de una manera curiosa, pero también milagrosa, y sí, fue una diosidencia, el Señor permitió que a través de unas amistades nosotros conociéramos a un médico que decidió abrir una clínica de fertilidad en la ciudad de Barranquilla. Él no vivía en Barranquilla, pero el Señor lo llevó a través de una visión que le dio a él y a su familia, lo llevó a la ciudad de Barranquilla a abrir su propia clínica de fertilidad porque era un especialista en fertilidad. Y de una manera bien especial el Señor entreteje todas esas conexiones divinas y me extienden la invitación para ser la psicóloga de la clínica. Esa invitación me tomó por sorpresa, nunca lo esperé, o sea, es algo que va como en contravía, ¿verdad? Como que siendo paciente de fertilidad, me estás diciendo esto sabiendo que yo estoy en el mismo camino. Y acepté esa invitación y empecé a trabajar en esa clínica atendiendo pacientes que estaban en la búsqueda de tener hijos, atendiendo personas, mujeres, hombres, parejas que estaban enfrentando un diagnóstico de infertilidad. En ese caminar y en esa experiencia también recibí sanidad. Iba recibiendo sanidad a medida que ayudaba a otros. Mi corazón también era sano. Y cuando ya puedo iniciar un tratamiento de fertilidad, iniciamos con tratamientos de baja complejidad, donde los resultados, pues lastimosamente, fueron negativos. Al ver eso, nuestro médico nos hace la invitación de pasar a una nueva instancia, de hacer un tratamiento de alta complejidad, exactamente un in vitro. En medio de todo estaba también el trabajo en equipo con mi esposo. Mi esposo fue muy clave en esto porque me animaba a seguir adelante. Hablábamos del tema y él siempre me decía, nosotros vamos a ser padres, nosotros no nos vamos a quedar sin hijos. Y cuando el médico hacía la invitación de qué venía, de qué procedimiento, de qué tratamiento, mi esposo para mí fue fundamental en el momento de brindarme ánimo, de levantar mis brazos, de sostenerme, de consolarme también, porque recibir tantos procedimientos en medio de estos tratamientos logra ser también abrumador para la mujer, sobre todo. Luego, en medio de todos estos tratamientos, porque no fue un solo intento, fueron varios intentos, más de 5 intentos, las fuerzas, la fe, la esperanza quizás se disminuía un poco porque no era que no estábamos haciendo nada, lo estábamos intentando, pero en medio de estos intentos los resultados también seguían siendo negativos. En medio de todos esos procesos o los tratamientos, hubo cirugías, cirugías que me llevaron meses de recuperación y colocar en stand-by el tratamiento a seguir porque debía primero recuperarme. Ya en últimas instancias, como ya cansados, honestamente agotados, recuerdo nuestro penúltimo tratamiento, recuerdo muy bien abril de 2024, muy esperanzados, hicimos una transferencia embrionaria y el resultado, una vez más, fue negativo. Realmente como parejas estábamos desmotivados, incluso habíamos hablado de no seguir más, no intentarlo más, habíamos considerado la adopción también. Cuando el médico nos vuelve a hacer una invitación y nos dice, no se rindan, vamos a volverlo a intentar una vez más, vamos a volverlo a intentar. Abrió un nuevo protocolo para mí, médico, nos preparamos nuevamente, pero realmente en ese intento no estábamos tan animados, ya luego de tantos golpes, de tantos no, las emociones como tienden a bajar y la expectativa tiende como a disminuir y va uno avanzando pero con duda, realmente, con un poco de duda y temor al mismo tiempo. Sin embargo, los médicos nos acompañaron de una forma muy especial y recuerdo que mi doctora en esa preparación, sin esperarlo, me dice, Audrey, hoy es lunes, ya el viernes podemos hacer la transferencia y nosotros quedamos muy impactados, no lo esperábamos. Sin embargo, mi cuerpo respondió maravillosamente a toda la preparación y recuerdo que ese viernes hicimos nuestra transferencia en el mes de junio de 2024 y a enfrentarnos a un periodo de espera llamado beta espera, que son 12 días aproximadamente para luego hacer una prueba de embarazo. Y para la gloria de Dios, el 3 de julio de 2024 recibimos una prueba positiva. Empezó un embarazo muy sano. El Señor nos regaló la alegría de ser padres y para la gloria de Dios nuestra hija nació este año 2025, el 3 de marzo, una preciosa niña que se llama Amaya. Amaya nació para la gloria del Señor en Madrid, España, y hoy les puedo decir que estamos muy felices de tenerla entre nosotros, de disfrutarla y de ver el amor y la misericordia y la fidelidad de Dios en sus ojitos todos los días. Puedo decirles que sí, el Señor cambió nuestro lamento en baile, nuestra tristeza en alegría. Cambia el vestido de luto por un vestido de alegría. El Señor trae esperanza y el Señor hace posible lo imposible. Y si algo puedo decirles en medio de toda esta experiencia, de todo este caminar, de todo este aprendizaje, es que siempre nuestro corazón debemos llevarlo a su presencia y permitirnos ser consolados, ¿sí? Permitirnos ser consolados y abrazar la esperanza. Abrazar la esperanza porque el Señor nos llama a eso, a tener esperanza aun cuando el panorama es oscuro, aun cuando el diagnóstico es difícil, aun cuando no hay posibilidades. Levantemos nuestra mirada hacia Él porque de Él viene nuestra esperanza. Así que creo que el Señor también hará ese cumplimiento, dará ese cumplimiento de promesas a muchos, a todos los que puedan escuchar este testimonio. Quiero que te animes y que le pides al Señor nuevas fuerzas para seguir adelante y aún en medio de eso le puedas servir a otros. No cierres tu corazón a servirle a otros, no cierres tu corazón en dar, aún en medio de la espera, porque en medio de esa espera somos sanados. Así que, bueno, declaro muchos milagros de imposibles, y declaro lluvias de bendición y buenas noticias en el nombre del Señor que puedas recibir y que el Señor pueda consolar, el Señor pueda llenarte de esperanza en el nombre poderoso de Jesús. Dios te bendiga.
Well, I mean, what a story, Mandy. They literally just gave birth this year. And actually, not only did they give birth, God opened a tremendous door a couple of months before she gave birth, and they now live in Spain. And they had the child there, and loads of opportunities just opened up. They were given automatic residency. They have a beautiful daughter, and oh my goodness, it's just an incredible story. And
Powerful.
every time we go back to thinking, what should we do with this last opportunity? And literally, she, got
Yes.
pregnant and gave birth. I mean,
It's so beautiful. God is never late, but sometimes we wonder, like, okay, God. But I know so many people are still waiting for that miracle. And I love how we have these two amazing stories. This woman that went through everything she went through and then just tried that one last time. Like, don't give up hope.
yes.
Don't give up hope. And then you have Cassie who is like, no, I am gonna have my child by the end of this year. I'm gonna have this. I know this is what God's telling me. So that determination of like, I'm gonna stand until I can stand no more, and the Lord is gonna come show up for me. And so I just encourage some of you who are kind of at that place where you're losing hope, and I say, "No, I'm gonna tell you to stand until you can stand no more." And you just believe and declare and on the word that what you have desired and prayed for is gonna come into fruition, that God is gonna show up for you, and, whatever that looks like, however that looks.
Absolutely. And, just encourage those of you who, whether you are at the final door of the last opportunity or whether you've missed now and you can't, and, they've told you there's no more and you still don't have any children, I do want you to know that, like Mandy said, there is still hope. There is still creative ways that God can bring that to fruition and make it happen. And so, I just want to say, along with what Mandy said, don't give up.
No.
But also, even if you didn't have the child that you thought you were going to have, don't give up on God. Don't give up
No.
on
No.
listening and allowing Him to minister to you and open yourself up. Don't stay in that grief
Yeah.
forever,
Yeah,
because you will all you will do is drive yourself in the ground.
100%. Don't allow yourself there too long. But what really was, as we close up in just a second, what I'm reminded of is actually, your story we talked about yesterday about your mom.
Yes.
Whenever everybody says there's no more hope, when they
Yeah.
say it's done, like, it's
I mean, like,
100
I
tumors.
told her goodbye on the
Yeah,
bed, on her bed
100
on her
tumors,
bed.
go say goodbye to your mom, that's it, it's done.
Yeah.
And then
She won't wake up. He said
yeah.
she will not wake up.
And then you go in and, your dad's fasting for what, 4 or 5 months, I don't know how long,
It was 16 weeks.
16-week fast and, all this stuff. Anyway, so my point is even when the doctors, even when everybody says there's no more hope, that is not the God we serve. That is not the God we
Let
serve.
God have the
Yeah,
last word.
that's right. That's
More
right.
than anything, let God have the last word.
Amen.